It's time for women to rule the world.
It's been time. It has been time. We can really do it all, and it infuriates me when the same ridiculous messaging of women being emotional is the driver to lead us to not want women. Like, so are men emotionless? Because I'm pretty sure we're seeing a lot of emotions. So I had a little childlike version of myself show up in this call with him one time where I was like, I could tell even the tone of my voice changed. I was like, "Guess what, Dad? I'm getting a PhD." And he was like, "Well, when are you going to get another one?"
Oh my gosh.
I was so defeated when that comment came about. And clearly, it's been years now, it's stuck with me because I'm trying to prove, like, am I lovable? Am I worthy? Is someone going to see me? And a lot of that has come through academia and career, uh, my drive and ambition for career and success.
So I was like, oh, these are really interesting parallels. Did you ever
Mm.
sit down to think about that?
No, Pam. Thanks for thanks for bringing that up. I mean, you know what's so it's funny, but it's also just like, damn, like we just go. It was
Yes.
something that it feels so purpose-filled, so necessary. Clearly there's been a crises of misogyny and sexism for centuries. Want to do something to help, want to do something to change things, especially among communities of color and women of color in particular. So I go, 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 and I do it in the midst of various forms of self-sacrifice. Sabrosura pa' ti que.
Hola, hola. Welcome back to Café con Pam, the bilingual podcast that celebrates the power of our stories, the medicine in our voices, and the magic of reclaiming who we are. Esta semana, I'm sitting down with someone whose work I believe is a direct answer to one of the loneliest questions women in our community carry. Why does it feel like I have to do this alone? Dr. Christine Coleman is a licensed marriage and family therapist, the founder of Sisters, a nonprofit dedicated to empowering women of color through mentorship, community, and healing, and the creator of the socio-emotional healing theory, a framework that asks us to look at every layer of our lives, the systems we navigate, the workplaces we move through, our relationships and family, and finally, ourselves. And this framework asks, what is my relationship to each one of these? Dr. Christine holds a PhD. She's been featured in Harvard Business Review, The Wall Street Journal, Vogue, and many others. And she's consulted for so many huge companies: Pinterest, Salesforce, Sephora, the NBA, and more. Pero, aparte de all of those incredible accomplishments, I think the invitation from this conversation is Dr. Christine's own journey of identity. She is Mexican and Iranian, the daughter of a single Chicana mother who modeled what comadres look like. Women showing up for women, no excuses, no conditions. She is a mother of two, a grieving daughter, a newly diagnosed ADHD brain, and a woman who built a community for other women because she bore witness to what that community made possible, or what having a community made possible. I think Dr. Christine will be the first to tell you she's still figuring out how to let people hold her back. In this episodio, you're going to learn why healing in isolation is not strength. It's actually the conditioning talking. And Dr. Christine has spent years building proof. También, we're going to go into what it cost women to keep overfunctioning. Her PhD, going through her dissertation, the nonprofit she built, the career, the caregiving, all at once, and what it feels like to finally name it without shame. También we're going to talk about grief, about identity, and what it means to be of two worlds and never fully feel like you belong to either one. Y lo que encontramos when we stop trying to earn our place and actually start building one. So, if you've ever felt like asking for help was a personal failure, or maybe you've been quietly caring more than anyone knows because that's just what you do, or maybe you grew up between two cultures and somehow never felt fully claimed by either one, este episodio es para ti. Sin más, here's my awesome conversation con la brillante y poderosa Dr. Christine Coleman. Dr. Christine, welcome to Café con Pam. How are you?
Thank you, Pam. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, so excited to have you. There's so much to talk about. But the first question we always ask is, what is your heritage?
Oh my goodness. So I am of Mexican-Iranian descent. My mother was born in the United States, but our family background is from Mexico, and my dad currently, sadly, but also in a really proud way too, lives in Iran. So I identify as both.
Is he okay?
So far, yes. I haven't heard from him in about a week and a half, which is a little long. There was a gap of time, then he was calling a little more consistently, and then I get worried when it goes a little bit too long. So
Oh,
it's been a hard time.
yeah. I don't want to push on that wound, but sending all my thoughts
Thank you. Thank you.
because it is. It's a lot. How are you
Yes.
doing with all the things that we're dealing with?
I'm okay. I don't have the strongest history with my dad, and yet the moments like these, I don't know if anybody really knows how to navigate these, right? So it's called me into a an opportunity to exercise compassion and concern in ways that maybe my own complex history with him
Mm,
kept me from. And so a lot of the things I think I've like held on to a bit more rigidly with for protection. I think that's the things we do that a lot when we don't have the best relationships, especially with our caregivers or our parents.
yeah,
We do this form of self protection. So I know that I've experienced that in my life, and something as I'll call it as extreme as having a loved one or a parent that's living through war, for me has called me into a different version of myself that is able to show up in a way that is very concerned. And I know I've always had love and care for him, but at a distance and with a little bit of reservation. So now it's really into like, I'm giving myself permission to lay some of that down, and really just show up
for sure.
in hopes that he's okay. And I have a lot of family there, and I'm hoping they're okay too.
Totally. It's tricky. It's complicated. It's like layered.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if there's a manual for it.
I don't think so. I'm a therapist, and I can
I
tell you
know.
it's layered, and I'm a human, and so even if there was a manual, and there are manuals for a lot of different things we go through, and then we go through them, I'm like, "Wait, how do I do this?" So a lot of it is just, like, really sitting with the present and wondering, "What is my take on this? How do I do this in the best way that is unique to my personal life and lived experiences?" So that's what I'm trying to do,
And giving yourself permission to process it however you need to in the moment.
100%. Yeah.
Because it may look different tomorrow.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, the world is really chaotic right now, and it's maybe different chapters and versions of history it has been, but right now we're feeling that, and we're kind of, like you said, figuring it out every day, it feels like, just something new. How do I navigate this on top of our own everyday things that we're going through?
Totally. What I say, there's no manual for this. I truly think that because of the advancements in technology, because of how the world shifts and changes, truly there's no blueprint.
Right,
No one's ever gone through this the way that we are going through this right now.
right, right, it's so true. I want to challenge myself to dig more deeply into folks who are historians, because we know that history in many ways repeats itself. And then
Mhm.
also, as we said, we haven't lived through that history. So there's
Right.
only so much information we can depend on and then apply to our present. And even with that said, we're still learning a lot in real time too.
Totally. Oof.
Mm.
Well, sending all my thoughts to all
Thank
your
you.
family over there.
Thank you so much for opening up with that, letting me be vulnerable. Yeah.
Of course. So, on that same lens, how was growing up with this dual identity?
Really interesting, really interesting. It's also a fresh time, I'm just telling you everything at this point. My mom passed away 2 years ago tomorrow, so today is 16th, and so tomorrow is the 2-year anniversary of my mom's passing, and I say that to say, and maybe we'll get into it even more, but I'm experiencing this life of, like, I just turned 41. My mom passed away when I was 39. Single parent, raised me in a predominantly Mexican American household. So I grew up with my mom. my grandma, my grandma's sister, my tia Sanchez, but I called her grandma too, and my two tios, who are my grandma Sanchez's sons, but were raised like brothers to my mom. So
Okay.
it was me with a whole lot of adults. And then periodically, my parents divorced when I was very young. So I don't have a picture of them together. I don't have family memories of them together. But I do remember there was a season of my life for a few years throughout my childhood where I would go visit my dad and his family, where many of them immigrated from Iran to start a very successful Persian rug business here in the Bay Area. And going between like a very Spanish speaking household with a lot of Mexican food being cooked and hearing a lot of, conversations. And we were very Christian. We are very Christian. And then it's just like then going to my dad's house where there was like a lot of really strong Iranian Persian food flavors and scents, and speaking in Farsi and seeing my dad pray 5 times a day through his Muslim practices. There's a lot of cultural difference
Yeah.
there, but it really has informed my life. And even though I didn't grow up with my dad, I stopped really having communication with him physically when I was like 11. So it was like a really interesting adolescent time.
Mm.
Uh, and again, that's kind of where a lot of like my own complexities lie of just not knowing him for the bulk of my life. um, I've always considered myself very proud to be both. And now that I'm a mom, it's very important for me to continue to learn and expand my own interest and interest in my identity, because I feel like it's more than me now. So I want my kids to be
Mm.
proud of who they are and where they're from all around.
Totally. And did you ever have those conversations, like, after you stopped seeing dad at 11, did you have those conversations with mom of, like, "I wanna know that what's on that side?"
Yeah, I think my mom really did her best. First of all, she was really great about, even though I spent most of my time with her, about not talking badly about my dad. I know they had their own stuff. He would be the kind of dad that would promise to pick me up and wouldn't show up.
Been there, done that. Yeah.
Those things really do inform our upbringing and our experiences in the world. And yet she would find this really unique way to empathize with me, of just being like, yeah, that's not surprising, but also not like, there he goes again. You see what, she wouldn't do that. But she really did try her best to continue to talk about it. My mom actually, um, for, I think it was a total of 8 months, lived in Iran. She went there for what was supposed to be a month as a young Mexican American woman, newly married to my dad, and went to spend time with his family there. That was, I think she said, was supposed to be a month, and it ended up turning into 8. And I was actually
Wow.
maybe TMI, but I was I was conceived there. And that was when she was like, we need to go back to the US. So that's what led her to come back. And this time, honestly, it's kind of all interwoven, but this time where we're in the middle of this, with this war, has caused me to lean into more of the history that I don't think I've fully understood. I really have not been able to wrap my head around it, and knowing the challenges that the Iranian people have gone through for decades now under this.
Mm.
So there's a lot that I'm learning in real time while being concerned for my dad, while trying to reconcile for like all the years that I was like, where is he and why did he leave? And, all is really layered. But my mom did her best in like recalling the stories of my family that were there and what she saw and the beauty of Iranian people. And then she would really try to like bring that back to me. I don't have a ton of Persian people in my community. So every time I meet one, I'm like,
You see each
hey, how
other?
you doing? It's so excited to meet you. I know I present, like in a lot of ways, like I look Persian, and I love
Yes.
that. I really love that. So my mom, I think, did her best in helping me really take pride in who I am all around, and the absence of my dad and my family that couldn't necessarily teach me about my culture on that side. I think she did her best to at least try to make it something that she was very excited and open to me knowing about and learning about.
Yeah, I love that. I resonate because it's one of the things that, my mom always did when my dad also left when I was 11.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, and so I remember, like, Mexican family, like, the tias be talking shit all the time about, like, how
Mhm.
dare he do whatever.
Mhm. Mhm.
And my mom always would quiet them and be like, "Look, you can't talk about bad about him in front of his children because they're his kids,
Mm.
and I want them to build their own opinion about who he is. I don't want them to think about, like, the whatever trash you're talking about because I want them to realize whatever they need to realize on their own time." And now as an adult, I think about that and I'm like, that was really powerful because I have a relationship with my father who that I wouldn't have been able to build
Mm.
if all of that had gotten to me, you know?
Wow. I love that. Gosh, it makes me think of, like, the weight of mothers, just in
Yes.
so many ways. Like, I'm trying to shield you from this and give you grace on that and protect you from
Right.
this and also nurture you on that. It's so much, especially women like our moms who are put in these situations that they didn't ask for.
Totally. And how they, like, 100% to your point, it's like they're holding what everyone is saying while still going through their own grieving moments because it's a
Yeah,
relationship, you know? And still making sure that the kids are doing fine. Like, it's a lot.
it's a lot. Props to the mamas, props to our mamas. Wow. Mm,
Women are powerful,
they are. We are. Mhm.
for sure. So, Dr. Christine, there's a lot going on right now. Personally, thank you for being open with that.
Mm.
And as a therapist, you have tools. How are you reminding yourself to use them when you need them?
Mm. Thank you. That's always the ongoing question is, am I practicing what I'm preaching or sharing or trying to offer the people I serve and deeply care about?
Mm.
And I really do try. My mom passed away from stage 4 cancer, so I use that as really this pivotal time in my life where I was raising a then gosh, they were really little. My kids are 6 and 8 now, so I'm gonna say 2 and 4-ish and maybe in that realm of, like, growing so they were really little, preschool age, I'll say. It's all a blur now, but, preschool age kids, driving my mom to chemo, trying to build a practice. I have a nonprofit, trying to serve and help others. Like, there's just a lot of extension of me, and when my mom passed away in 2024, it was obviously, like, the finality of grief, but one term that really, really helped me in the process of my mom dying was and is anticipatory grief. That was a helpful term for me to lean on because I was always on edge about, "Is this gonna be her last day?" Or, "What's this ER trip gonna be?" Or, "Is this chemo gonna work?" So anybody who's been there with terminal illness or anything that feels just like the gravity is and the risk is so high, we're on that edge of grief, and so when she passed away, it's not like I hadn't grieved before, but there was a finality to the grief.
Yes.
And so thinking about how much I tried to take care of myself in the midst of going through years of balancing all of the juggling act, if you will, um, between, I guess, for the last 2 years really has been a season of rebuilding myself, figure out what is life without not only my mother, who has been, as we're talking about, like the biggest support system, my biggest champion. I'm an only child. Like it was me and her. We had a big family in the household, but she and I rode together. Like we did everything. She was my number one. Um, and then having a father with complexities and in a different country, and then yet when I don't hear from him for a few weeks because I know what's happening, it's been this, like, reality of, like, do I have any parents at what I
Oof.
consider still kind of a relatively young age? I know I'm, like, kinda middle-aged now, but, like, I still feel very young and, reliant on others to support me, and I've had to also learn, like, well, what is life like without that? They're loving adults and caring mentors and tias and tios that I know care about me, but as we know, it's not the same. So that has been an interesting grief journey in all senses of the word, and also this journey of rebuilding. So, yeah, I have tried to lean into tools Some of the most powerful tools I find for my clients and for myself is just even having language.
Hmm.
So that's why I think words just like really feel powerful. And there's a term for that. There's something that, diagnoses are sometimes like pathologizing people is not always the way to go, but sometimes there is also relief and even liberation in knowing there's
A
actually
name.
there's actually a name for it. There's actually something there. So like anticipatory grief, that's one example of what I think really helped among many other tools as well.
For sure. I don't want to go into a tangent, but as an ADHD brain,
Yeah.
I often think about, I mean, because the average of women being diagnosed with ADHD is 36 years old. And I keep seeing, I was actually told I had ADHD when I was 20, so I'm very privileged. But
Mm,
I still had a lot of challenges, and I see how validating it
mm,
is when women are told, "Yeah, this is like this which you've dealt with your whole life is called ADHD. You're not
mhm.
crazy, you're not emotional, you're not, like, in your head. It has a name." So to your point, it's super validating to simply name things.
Yeah. Pam, guess what? I just got diagnosed with ADHD.
Oh my gosh.
Are
Welcome
we
to the
like
club.
these like long lost hermanas? What's happening? What is
So
going
you have
on?
so many businesses.
So many cool alignments. Yes. So I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. And I think that's also where some of those terms come to for me of just like there's grief and like a sense of like liberation that I've experienced with this diagnosis. Like, oh, how did I not know? How did nobody know? And I suffered a lot throughout many years of my life. And also, phew, it's not just me. There's something there that is my unique brain that has allowed me to do so many remarkable things, even with those challenges. Like it makes me feel, even honestly, like it fires me up. Just like I got a damn PhD with ADHD and not knowing it. Like how did I did a lot of really remarkable things academically and otherwise. Like I'm so proud of myself. Now it's about okay, what tools? What perhaps I haven't. I'm exploring medications. Like, what other types of resources and supports can help me now that I have this information?
Totally. So
Hmm.
it builds that foundation to say, well, now I know the sky is blue. So let's figure out what color of the clouds we want to put in there, you know?
I love that. Absolutely, that resonates with me a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Tulsi tea. I'm drinking Tulsi tea. It helps a lot, like a
Does
lot.
it? Okay. I did not know that. Okay, good. So
Mhm.
we're gonna share all the resources. I
All
love
the
it.
reasons I'm happy to share all the things because
Oh,
I'm all
please
about the
do.
plants. I have plantitas in my house, like that I drink and that I nurture. And
Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh my goodness. Wow, that's great.
but Dr. Christine, so
Mm.
thank you for like we started and we were going deep, huh?
Yeah,
It
we
wouldn't be a
waste no
Confecon episode
time.
if we didn't go deep. So we've talked about identity. We've talked about anticipatory grief, which that is, I think, something that it could be applied in so many different experiences. I I often, for me as a coach, I talk to clients who are breaking relationships, and I have a name now for that because I always tell them you have to get over it before you get over it.
Mm,
You know, you're getting over it in the process because we tend to just elongate, the breakup, but they like you already knew, specifically speaking of relationships. And so anticipatory grief is like you're grieving the relationship before you fully break it up,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
And caregiving in so many ways and living in a world that's going through so many things. I mean, so many things.
yes, yes,
Like as I'm saying that, like all of these news headlines are like popping in my head, and I'm like, do I even name all? Like, we all
yes,
know what's happening.
yes.
It's so
The
much.
news travels so fast and it's consumed at such higher rates than ever before. Like, honestly, Pam, like when I was even questioning, do I have ADHD or not? I don't know if this is your case or maybe the case of others listening, but I wondered, is it ADHD or is it just the world that we live in is just so attention seeking. It's so overwhelming that anybody is feeling flooded and overwhelmed and having a hard time locking it. I'm leaning into my own study of ADHD, and while that is not the sole reason. It's definitely part of the equation of what is leading us to maybe see these higher rates or see the outcomes of things being more challenging, especially for women, and especially adult women. A lot of good research coming out of that too. Thank you for that marker of 36. I didn't know that that was the average age there, so that's really
It's
helpful too.
wild. I've met
Mm,
so many women, like dozens. Two of my hands, I can give you the names with both my fingers,
mhm,
with all my fingers. And they've all they're all like, "Wait, I was diagnosed when I was 36." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's like a thing." And like connected to that, the reason why it's 36 is because that's the average of perimenopause symptoms starting. And so
mm.
basically what the body says is, "I'm done masking.
Jeez.
So all your hormones are just getting out of whack. You can't mask anymore. You've been masking for, your first 36 of your life. So now you're just gonna feel all the things because the hormones just can't
Mm.
hormone anymore."
What, right?
And that's when women get over that's when we seek help.
Wow. That makes 1,000% sense. Yeah.
So for me, I was 2021, and I was failing, I was about to fail. Like school was always boring to me. I mean,
Mhm.
thinking about it, I would be the kid that I was always sitting in the back. Like I was a rebel kid.
Mm,
I
mhm.
would sit at the back, I would talk too much, sometimes I wouldn't talk enough, and because school was boring, I'm like,
Mhm.
literally, you're giving me assignments, I get done I, complete them in 10 minutes while you're giving us an hour, I'm bored, and
Yes.
so I didn't know I could ask for accommodations. In college, I would put things to the last minute
Mm,
because I'm like, my thing was I work better under pressure.
same.
I was my mom would say, "Eres la mujer del mañana," "I'll do it mañana, I'll do it." And so, when a professor was like, "You could have been brilliant, but you decided to wait till the last minute, you're not giving me excellence that you can provide." So, I could have the work that I know you can do, you're choosing not to do it, and I know it's a choice because I know you're capable.
Wow.
So all that led me into this well, I guess I need to figure out my broken brain, and I that's when I was told I had seasonal depression and ADHD.
Yeah.
But I was about to not finish college
Mm.
because I couldn't mask. It was just a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
And speaking of masking, um, and the various identity pieces,
Mm.
in your case, you went as far, you went the opposite, like a whole ass PhD. So, and would you say this is the overcompensation of proving yourself?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, so many different ties through, like, this web. It's a lot of my mom was a very proud, Chicana Latina and was the first in the family to get her master's degree, and really, I think, took her life, my grandma, I mean, all the people in the household's life, but also family that didn't live with us, just, like, really set the example, and so following my mom's footsteps were big shoes to fill. Um, and I got my master's degree. It was really funny too because I too was a rebel. I was okay in school, like very average, similar. Thought school was like I, but it wasn't my
Yeah.
favorite.
Yes.
Um, but my mom, I think, also simultaneously like having an example of my mom who was like just really about education and just like, I don't care what you do, you just need a college degree, like just at least get a BA. So I was just like, I mean, I could, and I also don't need to. And she was like, just, so I did. And I told her, well, I will do it. My mom was a therapist. I don't know if I said that. My mom was a therapist for 40 plus years. And I said, I will do anything but be a therapist. And then I ended up taking a psychology class in my sophomore year. And I was like, well, this is kind of fun. And then I was like, I don't know. And then I ended up declaring my major in psychology, and then here I am with master's, PhD, all in psychology and marriage and family therapy. So I was such a rebel to my mama, but she was really about setting the example, letting me do. She didn't say I had to study the same thing as her, but she was really about that education, and so I really felt it personal to my relationship with my mom and my family. I recognize that there's still, and still to this day, but still a very low percentage of Latinas with higher ed boundaries. That was really important to me to break a lot of those molds. Probably my main driver, or one of the main drivers,
Mm.
was that. And then some of the challenges too, like a lot I had some people in my life tell me, like, "You can't do it," or I reconnected with my dad in my mid-20s, so there was a big gap of adolescence to early adulthood that I was not in contact with him. He kinda came out of nowhere, and I was working on my PhD work. I was working on my PhD, and I had a little childlike version of myself show up in this call with him one time where I was like, I could tell even the tone of my voice changed. I was like, "Guess what, Dad? I'm getting a PhD." And he was like, "Well, when are you going to get another one?"
Oh my gosh.
I was like, "I haven't talked to you in years. I haven't seen you. You've contributed zero to the pathway to higher education and higher education altogether. Getting a PhD is one of the hardest things to do in life, and you're asking me when I'm gonna get another one?" Like, it was just, and again, I have these different examples that have led me to protect myself. At the same time, given the circumstances I'm in now, I think about cultural implications. I a lot more. I was just so hurt. I was so defeated when that comment came about, and clearly, it's been years now, it's stuck with me because I'm trying to prove, like, am I lovable? Am I worthy? Is someone gonna see me? And a lot of that has come through academia and career, uh, my drive and ambition for career and success. I was just on
Mhm.
a call with a client earlier, we're talking about our definitions of success and what we see people, especially women, doing, and how social media can be wonderful and also detrimental when we are in this game of comparison.
Yes.
And, there have been a lot of things I've accomplished in my life that I'm extremely proud of, especially now that I know that I have ADHD. I'm like, "Wow, that's pretty remarkable." Um, at the same time, there are a lot of things that I know I've slipped on, that I haven't known how to do, the hamster wheels that I've stayed on, the different circumstances that happened in my life, like becoming a caregiver at a relatively young age, plus being a parent. There's been a lot of demand on me, but yeah, to your point, a lot of it has been driven by my ideas of success and likely a lot of overcompensating too. That's real.
For sure. And I think it's something that happens in our community a lot. For like, you're not the first woman with a PhD that's like, "You know what? I wanted to be part of the 0.03% or whatever that is of Latinas." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "More power to you."
Yeah.
But it's a lot of work, and it's
Mhm,
like, especially in your case, so you were pregnant when you wrote your dissertation,
mhm.
right?
I was pregnant and then, took me, gosh, how long? Little over a year. So I had an infant when I was working on my dissertation, and she was about, it's such, oh my gosh, it was 2019. So let's say she was a little over a year old when I walked the stage. So it was a wild time.
So, as I was researching, your doctoral dissertation is on the psychological impact of intersectional feminist activists. And you're writing about how the impact happens on women that give themselves to the cause while
Mhm.
you're also raising a child.
Right.
And so I was like, oh, these are really interesting parallels. Did you ever
Mm.
sit down to think about
No, Pam, thanks for thanks for bringing that up. I mean, you know what's so it's funny, but it's also just like, damn, like, we just go. You know, it was
Yes.
something that it feels so purpose-filled, so necessary. Clearly, there's been a crises of misogyny and sexism for centuries. Wanna do something to help, wanna do something to change things, especially among communities of color and women of color in particular. So I go, 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 and I do it in the midst of various forms of self-sacrifice. When
Yes.
we think about our moms and therefore maybe they weren't writing dissertations, but, like, what forms of self-sacrifice were other women in our lives, mothers and otherwise? What have we done to self-sacrifice, perhaps for the cause?
Mm.
Why do we have to keep on doing that instead of really seeing systemic change not only happen, but be sustained. It is a lot, and I know that I haven't done a fraction of what many other women in our lifetime and otherwise have dedicated themselves to and what they've sacrificed. So yeah, it's not something I think about top of mind, and I really actually appreciate that you're pausing us on that.
Yeah, because I was thinking, I was like, "Wait, so you had, like, a child on your hip and a computer probably on." Do you have any pictures of that? Of those
Ooh,
moments?
do I? I'm gonna have to go in the vault. I'll look
I
on the
know.
archives.
Because you wouldn't be like, I've seen so many women that have worked on, like, big bodies of work like that with the kids, like, even building businesses and so many things
Yep,
with, like, their kids on their hips,
yep,
and it's like,
yeah.
come on now, you built a whole human and a whole book and a whole business and a whole thing.
Yes, all the things. Yeah.
It's time for women to rule the world.
It's been time. It has been time. We can really do it all, and it infuriates me when the same ridiculous messaging of women being emotional is the driver to lead us to not want women. Like, so are men emotionless? Because I'm pretty sure we're seeing a lot of emotions drive. Maybe not the emotions that you want, but that you think they're not the emotions that you think are emotions, but they're emotions, and they're emotionally driven. They're emotionally driven in their own ways. Yes, yes, but no, it's, a really important reminder. I recall, and I love that we're interweaving just all these different factors of me and us, is sharing so many relatable points in our lives of I had the privilege of being a stay-at-home mom to both my kids, but predominantly my first child, and at the time when I well, actually, rewind, when I found out I was pregnant, I was working as a school-based therapist while working on my PhD. And my husband's then headquarters are based in Bermuda, a little tiny island of Bermuda, and his office was here in the Bay Area. And we got this unique opportunity to go live in Bermuda for a year. And he said, "Do you wanna do it?" And I was like, okay, so I decided to end my time. I'd been at this school for a long time. It was a really wonderful time. I thought I'm entering the phase of dissertation, which gives me a bit more flexibility now that I'm out of the intensity of coursework. And so I had my daughter in November of 2017. And then February of 2018, we packed up and left to this little island where I knew nobody. And so I left all my support system. I didn't have a job. My job was now to be a full time caregiver to my daughter. Didn't know anyone there. And then still found ways to complete my doctoral work. So pretty much, especially towards in 2019 when it really ramped up, I I remember my days looking like I'm with her all day from like morning to night, make dinner, hang out with my husband who's worked all day long, have some family time, they go to sleep, and then I'm up from like 10, 11 to like 5 a.m. for months. And then I would get up at 7 and do it all over again until I knocked it out and I did it. And I would keep on telling myself, like, it's just a season, it's just a season. And that repetition helped me, but it was really, really hard.
Totally. I mean, especially the invisible labor.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think, like, you called it a privilege to be able to be a stay-at-home mom for your kid, and it's a full-time job,
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
It's a privilege. I'm like, "Is it?" It's a
Yeah. Like, I mean, that's awesome.
and it is a ton of work. I always say being a mother who is raising children 100% of the time, which often comes with not for everybody, but often comes with the demands of the household, um, is one of the most exhausting, incredibly tiring, demanding roles and there were times in that time, there was such an identity shift for me that happened, talking about identity, right? Where I knew I was working on something that was so important to me, my dissertation and my overall doctoral work, um, and yet I wasn't exercising that outside of that work. I was so immersed in motherhood. And it's something that many, many women and many mothers are often faced with. Do I invest more time and energy in being a mother or career? And I'm trying to do, maybe I want to try to do both. I have to do both. There's no other choice for me to do, but to do both. How, the mom guilt, all of that. It was a lot.
Yeah.
And then when I finished, so the funniest part is again, my daughter is a month and some year, a year and some months old. Can't remember the exact month, but I graduated in May 2019, and I was so excited. It was like the biggest accomplishment ever. On top of, as you highlighted, just like, wow, how did I do that? Like with the baby, and it was just such hard work. I was so proud of myself. And girl, the same week, I was like, I don't feel very well, and I was like, I know what this feeling is. And I found out that I was
You
pregnant
were pregnant? Oh my gosh. Well,
just a few days after I walked the stage, when I was just so excited to just have a bit of a break.
a
So
moment.
I love my son. He's the greatest thing ever. But I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that this is happening again. So there was even more time. Again, privilege in so many ways, but also like, I think I was also kind of excited to get back to that part of me that just was really driven with my profession and my professional identity. I still had a little one, so I didn't really necessarily know what was next for me. But then to find out that I was going to have two children who were very young, that was that was a surprise to me. I don't know anything different from what my life turned out to be, but there was a little bit of grief. We talk about grief, right? Grief can show up in so many different ways and scenarios. There was a little grief in that, just like, when am I going to have my turn? But I'm also, of course, extremely grateful that I have my two kids.
Here's the thing, Latina families have been saving money forever. From reusing plastic containers for comida, folding up plastic bags under the sink, and diluting dish soap with water. The last thing we need is to pay fees to access our money, right? Pues, in case you didn't know, BMO customers have access to 40,000 fee-free ATMs across the United States. Plus, their BMO Smart Advantage checking account has no monthly maintenance fee. Learn more about how BMO can help by visiting bmo.com/checking. bmo.com/checking. Conditions apply. Accounts provided in the United States by BMO Bank, NA member FDIC. Do you ever feel like money's supposed to make you feel free, but instead it just makes you feel like a fraud? Like, you should already know this stuff: investing, retirement, debt, but you're still Googling, what's a Roth IRA, like it's a secret society? Let me unmute that real quick. Savvy Ladies is a nonprofit that gets it, and they're not here to shame you. They're here to support you. They've got a completely free financial helpline where real humans, real experts give you answers without judgment. Whether you're navigating money wounds, dreaming of building wealth, or just trying to make sense of your paycheck, this is your safe space. No sales pitch, no confusing jargon, just real talk, real help, for free. Because financial confidence isn't just about numbers. It's about knowing you're not alone anymore. Head over to savvyladies.org to learn more. That is SAVVYLADIES.org. When did Soul Sisters happen? It was in between those moments, no?
Yeah, it was.
She didn't just do that. There was something else, everyone.
Similarly, I always think about how life-changing my experience as a school-based counselor was.
Mm.
I was placed at this college preparatory school that predominantly serves marginalized young girls of color, many immigrant families, girls from all various types of diverse backgrounds, um, largely, if not all, from low income backgrounds. So the model is really beautiful and unique to provide college preparatory type of education, work study experience. And I'm not sure what the stats are to this in present day, but they're um, the highlight of that school is that they have had consistent 100% graduation rates. So
Nice.
it's really a beautiful experience. And I worked with girls from just really hard, tough lives. And I had been in therapeutic settings before that. I was a young therapist, a new therapist, but this school came to me because of an internship placement through my master's program. So I started off as an intern receiving hours towards my licensure and graduation. I got hired on to stay and continue to learn about what are the stigmas that remain in communities with regard to mental health, what are also the drivers to inequities that communities, especially marginalized communities, experience, and how do we continue to empower women and girls with that knowledge in the midst of those challenges. So oh my gosh, I was like 26, 27 years old when I was like, I want to start a nonprofit, and had zero idea of what that meant. But I just wanted to do something good for the community, and I wanted it to be formal. And maybe you can credit that to maybe my overly ambitious self. My mom, who was she was my realist. Like, I think I'm a bit of a dreamer and very ambitious. Um, Probably more so when I was younger than I am now. I think I've gotten a little bit more risk averse, but she was always like, "What are you, what are you doing? Like, do you know how to do this? What are you going?" So just I wrestled with like, "Are you proud of me?" Or but she was like, "I am. I just want to make sure you're like thinking through these things." So now in retrospect, I really am grateful for her guidance, even though sometimes it was a little like, I don't know if she believes in me or not, but she definitely did in her own unique way. And so Soul Sisters started when I was there the idea came in 2012. We started having a little bit more traction in 2013. I met a really wonderful woman named Barbara. I was a Zumba instructor on the side, and that was
Oh my
really
gosh, I was too.
me. Were
We
you
are.
really?
Yes, it's so funny.
Damn.
I know.
I love it so much.
We're living
Um,
parallel lives somewhere
I
else.
know, it's so awesome. I miss it so much. I say it all the time. I'm like, why? That was such a really beautiful, fun part of my life. Um, Barbara was a nonprofit lawyer, and I just kind of like became cool with her. Much older white woman, like, but so I don't know. I hope maybe saw something in me where she was like, I want to help you formulate this nonprofit. So she helped draft up all the paperwork, and she drove it to Sacramento. I'm in California. So she drove it to get it filed herself and helped me form a board of some really amazing friends that turned to like sisters. And we've just continued to do really wonderful things for the community to empower women across our well-being model, which is mental health, physical health, creative expression, and professional development. So we're still writing, but even that has had its different chapters, ebbs and flows that have really followed my life. At this juncture, I've really been just reflecting on how much it takes to build something. And I really believe in this work. My own self defeating thoughts around you don't know what you're doing. You've been doing this for a long time and you're still not where you want to be. But I've also had to work and grow practice and take care of people. And I mean, all the other lists of things. But now when I talk about, 2 years worth, marking it on my sweet mama's date of passing now 2 years ago tomorrow, I'm thinking about like Soul Sisters is something I'm extremely proud of. And my mom, uh, has such a hand in that work because it almost is a culmination of all the different things I've gotten to do in my professional life, but also rooted in my Latinidad. Soul is spelled SOL. I define it as sisters of light, being a woman of light in the world to shine light in our communities. Sisterhood. My mom raised me. She was a single Mexican-American woman, career driven as well. And she would meet with her comadre circle very often of all these also very driven Latina women who are still my tias, and they check up on me all the time. And we're still so close even after my mom passed away. I was surrounded by women who cared about each other, who filled in the gaps where maybe partners didn't. Many of them were single, if not, um, single or divorced. And um, many of them mothers, not all, but many of them mothers. And I bore witness to what it's like to have community and sisterhood, and also through the lens of diversity and the importance of being able to relate to women who have maybe some similar experiences. And while I have a dual ethnic identity, I diversity and inclusion is such a pivotal part of the work of Soul Sisters and everything I do my best to touch. So it is a work of the heart. I would say it's more than a passion project. It's real hard, gritty work to run and sustain a nonprofit for almost 12 years. But at this stage of my life, I'm like, I really want to go hard with it. So hold me to it, because it's something I'm really passionate about having be my full-time job, really going all in. Right now, I do a lot of different things. I'm a therapist, consult, I do a lot of things, and I have the organization because I've had to, just something that doesn't sustain me or others financially yet. But it can, but obviously that takes a lot of work. But that work has been so special to me. It's truly a work of the heart.
And needed, you know?
It's absolutely needed. Yes, thank you.
No, thank you for
Mm.
I think we're gonna thank your ADHD brain for creating all the things.
Right. Honestly, Pam, I think about that often, of like, again, that grief and liberation and knowing and also like not knowing. There's so many gifts in the ADHD, things I don't know if a lot of other types of brains and pathways to thinking and being could do. So as I think about who I want to be and how I want to be, yes, there's some areas I really need help with. I'm not perfect. I've made a lot of slip ups, and I have a lot of challenges in the way that I think and do. At the same time, I'm really grateful for my unique brain and my unique abilities that have allowed me to do a lot of different things. Now it's just about honing in. Also, being in my 41st year of life, I'm really passionate about simplifying down my life too. Just a little bit of it. There's a lot of talk online about a softer life. I'm ambitious. I'm career driven. I'm a mother. I want to be present, but I want to be in good health, and I want to take care of myself. I want to lean into the tools that you mentioned earlier. Am I reflecting what I'm offering to other people through my work
Mhm.
and as a therapist and whatnot, stand for healing and I stand for well-being, I need to be able to be well myself. So it's really important to me, and I'm really excited to continue to do all the amazing things I've been blessed to do, but also to simplify down so life can be a little bit softer in this next decade.
I love that. Slow mornings are my thing right now.
Oh, love slow mornings. They're my like. Don't always get them when my kiddos drop off, but I think after I've created a little bit of a space to just like
Mm,
rush and enter into the next phase of work.
I love that. Well, we're coming to the end. We're running out of time. I have so many questions. I have like pages of questions. So I wanted to talk about the socio relationship relational healing theory. And maybe we can quickly touch on it because, as you mentioned, you grew up in this matriarchal space of care. Did that influence that body of work?
Mm, absolutely. I believe it's a culmination of the work of Soul Sisters, my therapy work. I've gotten, in the last 6 years, in the midst of all the things we've talked about today, I've gotten a chance to work a lot with corporations and particularly with leaders in the workplace. People in what we might define as like higher places, like very successful people, as defined, our own definitions of success. So CEOs, people in leadership, and really understanding the multiple layers that go into being a leader. And so on top, from my own identity to my lived experiences my own in my own individual life, to my work as a therapist, and also learning about the different ways that women move in the world across socioeconomic status, race, nationality, and so forth. That I think is the culmination of what led me to create the socio-emotional healing theory. In short, it is a model that just allows us to understand, or hopefully allow us to grow deeper in understanding what we are often navigating and how we're navigating through it. So
Mm,
we're navigating systems, and the relational part is thinking about what is my relationship to each of these portions of this model. So there's a layer where we are overarchingly navigating systems. We talked about that today, right? There are things that are seemingly and many times realistically out of our hands. We're born into systems. They influence the ways that we have access to privilege and also the ways we interact with oppression. We have many, many um, forms of our own intersectional identities, to the point of my doctoral dissertation work. We navigate systems every day, and sometimes we have opportunities to exercise those privileges and use them for the good of ourselves and our communities, and other times we run into systems of oppression that really hinder us from being able to thrive through safety violence and safety forms of violence and otherwise. So thinking about the question, what is my relationship to systems? Similarly, the next level or layer is leadership. And if you're not in a leadership role, we can also use the word or term workplace. What is my relationship to work? So again, many of the things we talked about today, my relationship to career, my career identity, the workplace I'm actually a part of, the culture I'm a part of. For folks who might be identified as entrepreneurs, what does that drive? How do you identify that relationship to it? How does it relate perhaps to the systems that you navigate too? Because they absolutely shift
yes.
in the workplace and workplace institutions. Then the layer deeper is our personal relationships, or our interpersonal connections, our relationships to our personal people in our lives, our friends, our loved ones, our families, our children. What are our relationships to those? How do they ebb and flow? How do they inform, or how are they informed by our identities through our professional identities, the system? So they all really funnel into one another. And at the core, if you can visualize it with me, it's an inverted triangle model. So at the tip, at the bottom tip, there is our relationship to self. Think about that in a few ways. Our relationship to self being at the bottom, we think about, especially as women, but people of all genders, oftentimes we get knocked to the bottom and we're carrying the layers of our loved ones and relationships with other people, and our relationship and dynamics in the workplace, and our relationship to systems. We're carrying all that on our shoulders, and it can be a lot, and it can deeply affect our relationship with self. But where I challenge us to think about that in a different way, that's more optimistic and hopefully one that is full of hope and a journey to thriving, is it's also foundational. We are at the core of all these different things. So we are worthy of channeling everything that it takes to take care of ourselves so that we can have healthier and more positive relationships to the other layers on top.
We could nerd out on that so
That's
much.
right.
When is your book coming out?
Oh my gosh. I started writing it and I've taken a bit of a pause. So again, so many things going on, but I have started writing my book that I would really love to continue to model after this framework. So I am
Totally. I
towards it.
love that. I want to talk to you about galleta culture, but that's for another time. Last two questions. Do you have a remedio you want to share with us, a remedy?
Nothing that tangible necessarily, but I have, as part of, again, like my journey to self, back to self, um, started getting up earlier. So I get up about 6:30 with a friend, and we pray together. We read different literatures together to hold us deeper towards our faith. And whatever faith backgrounds or belief backgrounds that folks have, that are listening, I just find that there's something really, really beautiful and grounding when we start our mornings off in purpose, and talk about slow mornings, right? So I've been doing my best for a little over a year now to stay consistent with that, and it has been really transformative. So whether it's a faith practice, or it's meditation, spiritual practice, something that just allows you to be with self, or maybe your higher power, if that feels aligned with you, that has been something that has been really, really influential in the way that I move and I show up in my day-to-day life.
I love that. Awesome. We'll pause there. Tell us, last question, where are all the places and spaces where we can find you?
Thank you. On Instagram, I'm at Dr. Dr. Christine Coleman. My website is drchristinecoleman.com. You can also search Dr. Christine Coleman on LinkedIn. If you'd like to be connected with Soul Sisters on Instagram, we're at Soul, SOL, Sisters.org, and our website is soulsisters.org.
And we'll have everything in the show notes so people can find you and make
Thank
it
you.
super easy for them. Thank you so much, Dr. Christine, for coming to Kafa Pam.
Thank you so much. This was amazing. I really appreciated this time.
Thank you. That was my entrevista con Dr. Christine, and I need a minute. What I could not have planned for was actually how this episode began. Because before we even got to Soul Sisters, before we talked about her work, before any of it, Dr. Christine told me her dad is living through war right now in Iran, and she hadn't heard from him in over a week. And what she shared when she said, I'm giving myself permission to lay some of this down, to show up in concern, to love at a distance with a little less reservation. That is her humanity. That is a woman doing the work in real time in front of us on a random Tuesday. It's real. And I just appreciate and I feel so honored, truly, to be able to hold the space for my guests in this platform and for all of us to be able to see how the people that come to the show in some way they're people that we look up to and at the same time they're also human. And then Dr. Christine shared about the 2-year anniversary of her mom's passing, and her mom, the Chicana therapist who modeled everything, who held the Comadre Circle, who created the blueprint for what community between women look like. It's her anniversary of her passing, and Dr. Christine still showed up. She showed up. She talked about grief. She talked about love. She talked about the weight that mothers carry and how we don't have a manual. You know, there's no instructions for any of this. And what I saw was a woman who spent years telling other women they don't have to do it alone while still learning herself how to receive it. And I think something that we all need to hear it is what Dr. Christine described. Working through her dissertation, her PhD, growing the nonprofit, caregiving for her mom, and raising babies all at once is not ambition. It's the wound dressed up as ambition. It's what it looks like when we've been taught that our worth is in our output. And the moment I heard that, it landed pretty hard because many times we see it as sacrifice, no? And also when her dad comment of, "When are you getting another one?" It was real, you know? Because it brings this sense of defeat. And regardless, Dr. Christine kept going, and we always do. We keep going. Even as we are going by questioning, am I worthy? Am I lovable? Is someone seeing me as I'm going through all of this? And we don't always go through it by saying it out loud. We just feel it. We carry it in our bodies. And so I think when Dr. Christine and I talked about this, I could imagine, I couldn't feel it, but I could imagine our collective exhale of, oh, yeah, that's what we do. We just do. We just keep going because it's what we do. And so it moved me. It truly, this episode, this conversation was quite touching. And I hope it was for you too. If it moved you in some way, I would love it if you share it. It's the best way to compartir. Is the best way to be a comadre in this digital space. And so I would love it if you share it with that woman in your life who keeps saying she's fine. To the prima, to your bestie, to your hermana who's been holding it all together. Because no one's asked her to, but she knows she can carry it. Of course, tag us in all the places and spaces if this landed for you. Tell us what landed. And check out Soul Sisters. It's a beautiful organization. I think if you're in the Bay in Northern California, this is where they're based, but the organization is awesome. Reach out to them. Y bueno, if this conversation landed or opened up something in you, reach out to me. I'm happy to support, help in any way. Also, we have a quiz, the Calladita Culture Quiz, cafeconpam.com/quiz. That is a step you can take. That's the quiz that talks about the 5 wounds that keep us stuck, overworked, underpaid, undercharging, etc., etc. Y bueno, como siempre, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening, for choosing to grow with me, for putting me in your ears on a day when you could have chosen to do anything else. I don't take this time for granted. Nos vemos la próxima semana y como siempre, sigue brillando. Café con Pam is created con mucho amor by our small but mighty team. Content production by Nancy Jaimes. Podcast management by Maru Linardi. Social media and marketing by Brenda Figueroa. And me, your host, Pam Covarrubias. To keep the cafecito brewing and the healing flowing, join the Supporters Club for only $5 a month and access early episodes, behind-the-scenes vibes, and exclusive minisodes you won't hear anywhere else. Screenshot this episode and tag me and share what resonated. I love seeing your takeaways. Follow on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let's keep the conversation going with us on social media at Café con Pan Podcast because your voice always matters there. We love being on Instagram and Facebook. Gracias for listening to Café con Pan, a Spread Ideas Move People production. For more episodes, guest info, or resources, visit cafeconpam.com. And if you're healing from calladita culture and don't know where to start, you can take the quiz. cafeconpam.com/quiz for tia wisdom and cariño just for you.
Sabrosura pa' ti que